Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Marie Kandari and I'm the Director of New World and Ontario Wines for the LCBO. This means that I have the distinct privilege of working alongside our local wine industry to bring the very best local Ontario VQA products to LCBO stores and online at lcbo.com. Joining me today to talk all things Ontario wine is one of Ontario's wine growing pioneers, Paul Speck, President of Henry of Pelham Winery. Paul planted some of the earliest vineyards in Ontario over 30 years ago with his brothers, Matt and Daniel. They began the business development of Henry of Pelham Estate Winery in the Niagara region. Paul is also the founding director and current vice chair of VQA, former chairman of the Wine Council of Ontario, and former director of the Canadian Vintners Association. He continues to play an active role in promoting and developing the premium wine industry in Niagara and Ontario. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you so much, Marie. It's great to be here.
Welcome, and we're so glad to have you here. In your opinion, what is it that makes Ontario's wine country so special and world-renowned?
What excites me so much about Ontario is we're basically buying and growing vines that are available all over the world, and we're bringing them to our unique sites and soils. It's our unique climate, and just the growing conditions that we have. And then as winemakers and grape growers, we put our unique touches to the production of wine. And what's exciting about it is it's unique and distinct to Ontario. You cannot get a wine that's made in Ontario anywhere else, and I think that makes it special. And it's a very small area in our country, really, that we can grow these European grape varietals.
And we're seeing Ontarians really gravitating towards local. We see that at the LCBO with an increase in Ontario wine sales over last year, including tremendous growth with customers shopping for rosé, sparkling, and red wines. So what can we expect from this year's vintage? Do you have any insider knowledge from the vineyards that you can share with our viewers?
Well, it's first of all, it's fantastic that people have gravitated to rosé. I remember when it was difficult to sell rosé, and we do an amazing job at rosé. And what's exciting about rosé is it's not only being drunk during the hot summers, but also all year long. And there's so many great rosés made in Ontario. This year we've been really blessed, despite the challenges we've had with the pandemic. The one thing that's worked well, at least for grape growers and wineries, has been the weather. And once we got through the somewhat wet spring, we had just an absolutely amazing summer, hot, dry. We ended up getting some rains when we needed them. And even right now, I'm looking out my window, and we're doing harvest right now, and the grapes are coming in beautifully. We're actually unusually relaxed right now because the weather's cooperating so well. We've even pushed off harvesting some grapes so they get even riper and richer. So it's going to be one of those vintages where red, white, and rosé are all going to be fantastic. And particularly if you like red wines with a little more richness, a little more full body, this is going to be the year. 2020 is going to be particularly a red wine year.
Excellent. That's great. We're excited to try the new vintage next year. So you mentioned rosé. Can we talk about Ontario's wine regions as well as the other signature wines that they produce?
Yeah, I think what's neat about Ontario is we're considered a new world country in terms of wine, but we're really an old world country in terms of the wines that we grow. Our climate because of the Great Lakes is more of a continental climate, so we focus more on cooler climate grape varieties. So the ones that really are a highlight and are quite easy to grow and are very consistent here are Chardonnay, Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, and in reds, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Merlot blend. So blends of Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, and Merlot blended together much in the same way as other countries do. We find those grape varieties blended together make uh, I think show our best wines, and of course Baco Noir, which is something that you can really only get in Niagara.
I think that Ontario is absolutely leading the charge in sparkling wines. Do you have any comments about um, sparkling wine here in Ontario?
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that. Because we grow Pinot Noir and Chardonnay so well, it's natural to do method traditional sparkling wine. So, yeah, you're 100% right, Marie. It's the sparkling wines have been, I think, really amazing over the last 10 or 15 years. And what's exciting now is that we're starting to make more Charmat style method sparkling wines as well. So that little, fruitier, fresher style as well. So we're really branching out as an industry into all of the sparkling types of wine. It's pretty cool. I'm
Yeah,
excited about sparkling wine.
we are too. We have a stellar collection of new VQA sparkling wines that have just hit LCBO shelves, ranging from exactly what you're talking about, some of those more fruit forward, lighter styles of sparkling wine, right down to more sophisticated traditional method styles of wine. So there is really something for every taste and every budget. So I would really encourage customers to come in and discover our new selection of VQA sparkling wines. Okay, so let's move on. For those that are watching, what is VQA and what does that mean for the Ontario wine industry?
Well, VQA is the Vintners Quality Alliance. It's our appellation system. So every fine wine growing region around the world has a certain set of laws on how the wines are produced, and so that's what VQA is for us. So it's a set of rules and regulations of what types of grape varieties to grow, certain quality standards, and really it's also about the label itself. Once you see a VQA label, you know that the wine has 100% only grapes grown in Ontario.
Absolutely. So it's that true stamp of authenticity. And I should mention to our viewers that customers can shop and discover VQA Ontario wines at the LCBO in the VQA wine section or online at lcbo.com. And if you're unsure if a product is 100% Ontario wine, look for that VQA logo that Paul mentioned. What does Wine Country's journey look like, and how can Ontarians support our local producers and industry?
Well, first of all, if I could even just say on behalf of our industry, I'd like to thank for sure everybody, Marie, at the LCBO who's been super supportive through this crazy time. I don't even think my lights would be turned on right now. My computer might not even be working if I didn't get the support, and we didn't get the support as an industry that we had from the LCBO, not just at your end, but at the frontline staff who I know worked super, super hard. For small businesses like us, it was absolutely critical. As things opened up, and we got to stage three, we were able to open up our wineries to invite guests in. And that's been, there's one good thing about coming to Ontario wine country is there's lots of room to social distance. We have,
Mm,
hundreds of acres of vineyards and big fields available. So again, we were really blessed because the weather has been cooperating this year. So we've, most, if not all, wineries have been open, and I believe are going to be open through the fall. Um, and we can do tours and tastings. Really encourage people to look for the Wine Country Ontario tour book, as well as to go online to winecountryoontario.ca. You can, and really make sure when you're coming out to Wine Country that you do a little investigation beforehand, because some hours have changed, and there's different procedures, and it's kind of always a shifting target. It's something I think we've all learned, that everything's kind of shifting a little bit, but there's tours, there's tastings, there's events going on, all done in a safe and appropriate manner. But there's lots going on out here, and it's just even a great opportunity to get out of the city and see some beautiful country.
Yeah, there's no more beautiful time than the fall harvest season to visit wine country. Thank you for that information, Paul. At the LCBO, we are proud of our good partners making a positive impact on Ontario and the wine industry. Why is buying VQA a sustainable choice?
In terms of sustainable winemaking Ontario, it's important because, well, first of all, we started this program in 2003, and then about 2 or 3 years ago, we actually started to get independent audits, and I think there's about 13 or 15 wineries that are certified. Henry Pelham is certified as a sustainable wine producer, and we get an audit, and it basically looks at all of our uses of things like water, energy, our carbon footprint, and so that's one piece of sustainable winemaking and even sustainable grape growing, and that's about keeping your carbon footprint low, and but also sustainability also incorporates local. It incorporates supporting your community, supporting your neighbors, fellow citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you mentioned the impact in terms of the local communities and local businesses. So there absolutely is, an economic perspective to shopping VQA. The purchase of each bottle of Ontario VQA wine generates $98.20 of economic impact to the Ontario economy, and the wine industry creates 18,000 jobs. So it's very important right now more than ever to shop local. So moving on, Thanksgiving's around the corner. What type of Ontario VQA wine will you be uncorking with your circle of friends and family this Thanksgiving?
If I have to pick one, I think with turkey, generally I always end up back at Pinot Noir. Turkey's a little bit bigger bird. It's a little more dense than, say, chicken. And you have the dark meat and the gravy and the stuffing, and so I don't generally like to have a huge massive red, but I like to have a red with the turkey, and so I always like Ontario Pinot Noirs, where you get sort of that kind of mid-weight balance of red, a little bit of oak, a little bit of structure, but it's not too overwhelming. If I was going to do a white, I would definitely do sort of a Chardonnay that has a little bit of oak to it, so that it can keep up with all the other foods on your table.
Wonderful, great selections. So to wrap up, this month, as a part of our Together for Ontario campaign, we are paying it forward to local businesses in communities across the province to help rebuild our food and beverage industry and support Ontario. We've been creating a chain reaction to spotlight Ontario's products and producers, pairing local beverage, alcohol products with independent businesses, whether farmers, growers, bars, and restaurants. So, Paul, before we go, can I ask you to pair it forward to a local small business in your home community?
Yeah, I think that's such a cool idea, and I've been seeing it in the stores, all the restaurants and whatnot that are being paired up, and when I was asked, as you asked this question, it's just no question who just down the road from me is a local farming family who've been farmers for I think well over 100 years. I think they're into their third or fourth generation. The Vaughns, Mr. and Mrs. Vaughn, and they have a tiny little store on their farm called Lakeland Meats, and they raise chickens and all kinds of different animals, and so you can get fresh eggs and whatever meat they have.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you. And of course, we can't talk about Ontario wines without a cheers with local VQA wine. Thank you so much, Paul, for joining and sharing your expertise, and to our customers and the many, many VQA fans. Cheers to Ontario and to a successful harvest season for all of our local producers.
Thank you very much, Marie. Cheers.
Thank you, Paul. Please come together for Ontario and shop VQA at your local LCBO on lcbo.com and get out there and explore Ontario's wine country. And don't forget to pair it forward.